Oh yeah.
Whoa, what is this painting? Now, these stairs could really lead anywhere, right? But shelves and shelves of music? Okay, maybe this is a little better hint. Let's hear from Ella Francis about our Bible passage today.
Luke chapter 1, 46 to 56. And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for he has looked with favor on the lowliness of his servants. Surely from now on all generations will be called blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him, from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in him, that he thought of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones, and he has lifted up the lowly. He has filled them with He has filled the hunger with good things. He sent the rich away with empty. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to his promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and his descendants forever." And Mary remained with her about 3 months and then returned to home.
Well, if you guessed that I was here in the choir room in our church, you are exactly right. Give yourself a pat on the back or a round of applause. Nice work, but maybe you're wondering why I'm in the choir room and what this has to do with the passage that we just read. So let's noodle it together for a little bit, see if we can figure it out. You might want to get out your Bible and open it to Luke chapter 1. Luke is the New Testament. It's one of the Gospels. So the first 4 books of the New Testament. And that's where we read all the stories of Jesus' life and death and resurrection. So turn to Luke chapter 1, and you will find the story of the beginning of the story. So in this piece, right before the passage that we read today together, there was a particular visit by a particular angel called Gabriel, and Gabriel came down to a teenager named Mary and had some mind-blowing news. The news was that Mary, a teenager, was going to become the mother of baby Jesus. And I gotta tell you that if this was news that was sprung on me while I was chillaxing, before I was married, without a lot of detail, and it was news that might get me in trouble with the law, I'm not sure I would have felt joyful about it. I think I might have felt fear. I think I might have felt confusion. I think I might have felt frustration or maybe even anger, but I don't know about joy. But Mary was really different and really special. And something about her knew that this message was good news from Gabriel. And she immediately went to seek the counsel, to seek the ideas and the wisdom of her cousin Elizabeth, who was much older than she was. And when she got to Elizabeth, they exchanged miracle stories because Elizabeth too was pregnant. And it was against all odds that she was pregnant. And so they are exchanging stories about how this miracle, the series of miracles, came to be. And then Mary breaks into song and says, "My soul magnifies the Lord." And Mary goes on to talk about what God has done in the past, all the stories of how God has been faithful and how God has shown God's faithfulness through the things that God has done over and over and over again in the lives of the people of God for the benefit of the whole world. And part of that song, part of that story of how God's faithfulness has been so long, has stretched into such great lengths of history, something about that gives her hope and gives her courage to be joyful with this news, to tell her that God is up to something really unusual here, amazing here, miraculous here. But Mary understands God's heart and knows that if this is what God's heart has looked like before, then today, the news that the angel shared with her and that she shared with Elizabeth, it has to be good news, because that is who God is. God works for good in our world over and over and over again. And she is celebrating that with joy. Now, have you ever wondered about why we sing so much at Christmas? This song that Mary sings is called the Magnificat, taken from that word magnifies, or to make bigger or to glorify. So that word Magnificat is a song it's the name of the song that Mary sings in this passage in Luke. And it's one of the oldest parts of the New Testament. It's one of the oldest Christian songs that we have, which is kind of cool. And yet, we do a lot more singing at Christmas time than just singing the Magnificat, right? We usually hear or sing that once during Advent as we prepare for Christmas Day, but we have a whole bunch of songs, and these songs are only songs that we sing during Advent or Christmas time. Can you think of a few of your favorites? Like maybe you have a very short list, or maybe you have a really long list, I don't know. But there are a whole series of songs that we only sing during this time of year. Have you ever wondered why? Well, I think part of the wondering why is that these are the stories of Jesus' birth. These are the unique stories that connect God's story in the past with the story of a baby being born in Bethlehem as the present, with a whole picture forward to the future about what it will mean for the whole world that this baby is being born. And these songs help us think anew about that message over and over again. So it's not just something that happened way back then, it's something that helps make it alive today, that helps bring it into the present, that helps the birth of Jesus change who we are right now, not just who they were back then. And that is part of the unique power of song. So it is a tradition in our church and a bunch of other churches to have a whole service devoted to something we call lessons and carols. They are Bible readings, those are the lessons, and the carols are the songs of Christmas that we sing. And that service feels different because there's not a super long sermon like usual, and it doesn't have the same structure as a usual Sunday service does. Instead, this service is really structured around these readings and these songs. So we do a lot of listening during this service. But there's something about the way this service tells the story that changes us in a different way than our usual worship services. So let's talk to Mr. Josh and Ms. Jody a little bit about what is so interesting and unusual about lessons and carols, and why music is such an important part of our worship and how we connect with God and each other. Let's listen. How did the lessons and carols service start?
So Lessons and Carols as a service began in England in the early 1900s, and in 1918, in the middle of World War I, King's College, Cambridge did their first Lessons and Carols service. And then in 1954, after the invention of the television, it was broadcast on live TV for everyone in England to hear. And after that, it's become so popular that millions of people across the world watch or perform a Lessons and Carols service every year.
How does music change us differently than a lesson or a sermon?
So I think music, first of all, when we sing together, there's something about singing together in a choir or just singing songs in worship that connects us in ways that are hard to explain. But when you breathe together, your heartbeats sync up, it lets us experience what it feels like to be connected to each other in ways that we don't get to experience really any place else. So when we sing a song, I think music becomes sort of part of who we are. So if you think about it, songs that Miss Jody teaches you or that you learn with Miss Eleanor in Sunday school, you'll remember those songs all of your life. Yeah, most of those songs you'll remember and you'll never forget. And music, in a way that spoken word cannot do, becomes part of who we are. It becomes part of our subconscious, and it becomes part of our theology, really, and the way that we we act and are in the world. And Miss Eleanor can explain to you what theology means.
You want to say anything more about that?
I was just going to say, and to add on to what Josh was saying, it's like when you're in school and you learn the ABCs, or you sing the days of the weeks, the days of the week, or the months of the year. It's to help you remember, and those are the things that really stick with you in your mind, and it helps you remember the order and all that kind of stuff. So when we sing about God and we sing about certain scriptures in the Bible, it just sticks with us and we remember it a lot easier.
So this place, in this choir room, where a whole bunch of volunteers give their time every week to come and practice, and they share their gifts, their talents with our church, this is a great place for us to think about what it means to magnify the Lord this week. And you know, everybody that's in the choir, they don't sing like rock stars. They're not producing their own album anytime soon. But these are folks that have loved the church and found that this is one way they serve their church family, by inspiring us through song, by teaching us all about God's heart in a different way, in a musical way, in a way that winds up deep down inside of us in ways we can't always explain. And I'm grateful for their work. And so that is how I'm going to tie this challenge to you this week. I want you to take this challenge. I want you to learn a Christmas carol this week. Take up a new one. If you already know a bunch of them, find a new one. You can do that in the hymnal. You can Google it online and find the United Methodist hymnal online, and it will help you find some of these songs. But I want you to learn a Christmas carol, and it could just be one verse. That would be great. But if you learned a bunch of verses, you'd get bonus points. And I want you not only to learn it just for you and having those words down deep in your heart, but I want you to learn it to share it. Now, you'll have to be kind of creative during these days right now on how you can share those words well. So maybe you would go to your neighbor's house and you would ring their doorbell, and then you back way up, and put your mask on so you could be safe. And then you sing to them a song. Sing to them your Christmas carol that you've learned and wish them a Merry Christmas. Or maybe you'd like to sing to a family member. So you call them up on the phone, or you make a Zoom call or FaceTime, and you sing them the song that you've learned and wish them a Merry Christmas. Or maybe you'd like to wish somebody in our church family who might could use a little Christmas cheer this year. Maybe you'd like to call one of them or make a video for one of them and send it to them. And if that's the case, just have your parents email me, and I will connect you with a person in our church that could really love hearing your voice sing a Christmas carol and wishing them Merry Christmas. Or here's the last possibility that I've thought about. I thought maybe you could make a video and you could put it on social media, on your parents' social media account, and you could tag somebody else and issue the same carol challenge to them and say, let's learn a song about God together, and then share it with the world this way. And then they can tag somebody else, and it would be like this awesome game of Christmas carol tag, which sounds like a lot of fun to me. So those are your challenges. Pick what really feels right to you, but I hope you'll take it up and think about a fun way for you to share the good news, the story of the good news of Jesus' birth, all wrapped up in a song. All right, happy third Sunday of Advent. We are getting closer and closer, guys. That means next week will be the fourth Sunday of Advent, and who knows where I'll pop up then. See you later. Bye.